Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We are your co-hosts. I'm Brian.
And I'm Robin Joy.
And this is Coach's Corner.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, how's it going, Robin?
It's going great for
Robin
me.
Joy.
How about you?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Stage name.
How's it going for you, Brian?
It's going really well. I appreciate that you send me, or you copy me, I should say, on some replies that you have for some of your coaching clients.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them came through this last week, and it was, I thought, a great topic for us to discuss here. And it was someone that we've been working with for a few months, and they're like, hey, do you mind if I take the question and I'm going to give you the answer? Or I'm going to let you do the answer?
Okay.
They're like, hey, I'm doing like $2,000 a month, right? But I want to get into 5 figures. What do I need to do to make this happen?
Well, I mean, it seems a little simplified, but basically my answer was, you got to do 5 times as much as what you're already doing. If what you're doing gets you 2,000 and you want 10,000, 5x it.
Yeah.
And that sounds simpler than it is. I mean, it sounds easier than it is.
Yeah.
I think it is simple.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. You already feel like you're doing everything you can to get that $2,000 a month or wherever you happen to be. You already feel like you're fitting it in as best you can. But it's not getting you where you want it to be. So now you have to make a decision. Am I willing to keep pushing, to push a little harder? Now, you don't have to do 5 times as much tomorrow. That was one of the things that I wanted to emphasize to this client. 5 times as much tomorrow is never going to work. It's never going to last. Right? I can do 5 times as much this weekend, but I'm not going to have weekends like that every weekend.
It's like
at least we don't.
Going to the gym for 10 minutes, and then tomorrow I'm going to start going for 50.
Yeah. It doesn't really work that way. So you got to get a plan. How can I build up to 5 times as much in this situation? So this client and I are going to talk a little bit more next time we talk about what that plan should be. Can I push to the next $1,000 in the next few weeks? Can I push to the next few $1,000 in the next weeks after that and maintain what I've built? We don't want to go, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back either. So there's a plan, always need a plan, but essentially that's what we need to try to do. It's 5x it. In some cases, people want to 10x it.
Well, so the first thing that comes to mind for me is, in what time frame do you want to do this, right? Because if it's a compressed timeline, and you're going to probably need some more capital, right, to make this happen.
That's a good point.
Because we're spinning off profits, right? Even at $2,000 a month, but it's probably not enough to 5x it in a relatively short amount of time.
That is correct. We're also going to need more ASINs.
We are going to need more ASINs.
We need to test. If we're testing 5 a week now, maybe we need to test, get to the point where we're testing 10 or 20 a week. This is not going to happen tomorrow. You're going to have to build up to this. So in the plan, we want to be realistic and make sure that we're not just, forcing ourselves to wear ourselves out and then never be able to do it again. We want to keep the ground that we've managed to get.
But some things to keep in mind. If you're going to 5x your revenue, you're going to have to 5x things like your spend, right? You're going to have to 5x probably your time spent sourcing. Although here's the thing that happens that I think it's not always a 5x, right? Like I'm already doing 100%. Can I do 500%, right? We've had this conversation before.
Yeah, that's not a realistic.
I can't do 500%, but what I can do is improve some efficiencies or increase some efficiencies as I'm going. And one of the things that I know you bring up a lot is when you're first sourcing, you're not that good at it. So you end up spending a ton of time for very little result.
Those first few weeks.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to do what you will soon be able to do in much less time.
I was going to say, but what happens? Then the more you do it, then the less time you need to do it because you're more effective and efficient when you're doing it. Or you're going to find 5 times as many, right? For the same amount of time.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That is true. So efficiencies will help you get to that 5x.
Same thing I would posit with the shopping, prepping, and shipping, right? If we're doing retail arbitrage, well, we're already hitting the circuit for the things that we're shopping for to send in. So we're just going to spend a little bit more time in each store buying the additional things. So it's not necessarily 5 times. If I was out for a 3-hour trip to buy everything I was looking that I was doing for my $2,000 a month, a 3-hour tour, it's not necessarily now a 15-hour shopping trip. right, we do get the benefits of scale a little bit, right? So instead of maybe a 3-hour shopping trip, now it's a 5-hour trip, but it's not 15 hours.
Right.
Right.
Yes, that is a very good point.
Same thing with the prepping. Like we have to break that barrier of getting in there and getting stuff prepped and spending the time and packing the box and, going through Seller Central for shipping or Inventory Lab or whatever it is. So the amount of time that you're doing that, we're just going to add a few more things onto it. It's not like I have to spin up that whole process times 5, right? If it's taking me 90 minutes now, it's not 90 minutes times 5 necessarily.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. That's a very good point.
Okay.
So 5xing your spend is going to probably have to happen.
That one seems pretty solid. I don't know how to create additional product.
Well, you can make your spend more efficient by finding more profitable items, which does happen as time goes by. In the beginning, though, remember, we're very limited on what comes to us. So we have to kind of take what comes to us. Break even's a good deal at that point because we're trying to build that trust with Amazon so that they will open up some more brands that might be more profitable for us. Give us more choices.
And categories, yeah. Yeah. Well, so I think that the most important thing, knowing kind of what you're getting into from an effort level, then is making a plan. Because it's January, right? It's actually January 22nd. So we're past
we're recording this.
The Quitters Monday. Yeah, when we're recording it, sorry. I should say it's late January. And as we record this, and most of the sort of New Year's resolutions things have fallen off.
If they're going to stick, they're stuck by now.
That's exactly what we don't want to happen in this situation. So put a plan in place that says I'm going to do X and I'm going to do Y and I'm going to spend this much more money or this much more time.
In increments, though.
Yes.
Not I'm going to spend 5 times more this week.
Right. Like I'm gonna go from 0 to or I'm gonna go from 5 hours a week to 25 hours a week. It's probably not going to happen. And so, you're gonna have to build up to it, but make a plan.
I agree with you, and we talked a lot about this in our last podcast episode. A plan is important. A plan makes all the difference. Just all I can do is not usually good enough. I don't see people find success that way very often.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how much you're going to do? As much as I can. That's not a plan.
Yeah.
Make a plan, meet your goals, and your plan will give you what you expect it to. Make a realistic plan, have realistic expectations from that plan, and work that plan.
Yep. Okay, and then going from 2,000 to 10,000, this actually can happen in a relatively short amount of time if capital is not a constraint for you.
True. That can make it a little bit slower.
I mean, it's a constraint for a lot of people, but for most people, I should say.
Time, capital, and money, right?
Yep. No, capital and money are the same thing.
Sorry, time, capital, and ASINs.
ASINs, yes. So
capital and money kind of team up sometimes, I think.
Right.
Should have more than one name sometimes.
Well, so yeah, we've talked about these, what do we call them, governors in the business, right? So as long as you know that going in, here are the governors I'm facing, the number one thing is before you even have the capital is, do you have the ASINs?
Yeah.
And if you don't have the
money you have
ASINs,
if you don't have anything to spend it on.
do you have the time? And if you don't have the time, then we have to go and solve for the time problem, right? The time challenge. And we solve for the time challenge, then we can solve for the ASIN challenge. And we solve for the ASIN challenge, we can solve for the capital challenge.
Yeah, so this is something that I just want to interject right here, which is we do see a lot of people, and we tell you, you can do this starting with $500, a small amount of money, and we can plan it out, help you plan that out, how to use that in a way that it will sustain you until you start making profits. But obviously, there's a certain amount of that you're going to have to build more of before you can really go fast. At the same time, a whole lot of capital in the beginning isn't going to help a whole lot in this type of plan. So there's a happy medium, but there also are definitely abilities to do it on either side of that. Just have realistic expectations. That's great news to me, though, because shoot, I know people that just have $500 and they're like, well, can I do this? Sure, you can. If you're willing to, spend a little bit more time than what you're hearing on, some other people's stories, then you'll be fine. And pretty soon you'll be moving as fast as them. It makes me think of a premature child sometimes I've heard that they, start a little slower, but once they catch up, there's no difference.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same way with people who start with low amounts of money. I've seen them, they catch up and then there's really no difference. They're going along the same pace as everybody else.
Well, the whole time you were talking, I was like, don't forget this topic. Don't forget this topic. Don't forget this topic. And then, I was remembering, and then you brought it around to exactly the point I was going to bring up, which is,
how about that? See, I'm magic.
Often that when you solve for the number one thing, which is belief, and you've got a plan that you're going to go and execute, the capital problem gets solved.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell a quick story. Like this last 7 to 10 days or so, we've been talking about some projects that we have going on. And I remember we said like, and so here's what's going to happen. Someone's going to show up and they're going to help us do X, right? And wouldn't you know it, yesterday, out of the blue, we get a call from someone, and it was
something that's going to take two of those projects,
of the projects, yes,
and push them way forward, way fast.
Exactly.
The answer does tend to appear when you really are ready and you believe. So the best thing that helps belief is action and planning.
Yes.
Maybe let me reverse that. Planning and action.
Yes.
Plan,
make the
plan your work your plan.
That's exactly right. You say that.
It is important. I mean, it sounds trite. It sounds, I don't know what the words are.
Overused,
but it is used a lot because it means something. If you can internalize the meaning of that, plan your work and work your plan. It's an easy thing to remember. That's what, sounds kind of trite, but it really does make a difference.
Yep.
It really is important. We found with our own projects for sure, and with working with other people over and over. If there's a plan, it goes so much smoother, and there's so much less emotion involved.
I think the decision, right? When you decide that you're going to do something, then, usually a couple of things happen. Number one, you get challenged, right? Oh, are you sure? Are you sure you really meant that? And then once you've said, yeah, I'm sure, and you've overcome that challenge, then the answers start coming, right? And, I'm going to go a little off script here.
Oh, here we go.
I know. Oh, here we go. One of the things that we were talking about was we work with coaching clients, and a lot of times the coaching clients get tested just about how committed they are.
Just as things get going. Very often we see this. So because we have the privilege of working with several different people and seeing several different companies and how the path evolves, we see this over and over and over. Just as you get started, boom, something happens. And you have to decide whether you meant it or not. You have to decide whether this is really what you want. If you still want it, if you're still willing to do it.
Yes. And for some coaching clients, they're like, yeah, I'm not as committed as I thought. I'll see you later.
Yep.
Right.
And that does happen.
That happens. And then maybe a month or two later, they're like, wait, I'm back. Right. I got it.
That often happens.
This is usually what happens,
sometimes
right?
6, 8, 9 months later.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? That got off track because some things happened, but, I really think I want to do this. I haven't found anything that's satisfying the need that I had, that I wanted to start in the first place. And let's try this again.
Yeah.
That happens an awful lot. And so I really, I think that they have a really good chance then.
So whether it's challenging you and you are questioning your level of commitment, I mean, to me, that's like you're committed or you're not. You're 100% or you're something less than that. You're hedging. If you're 100%, then when you get challenged, then you're going to overcome that challenge, and then the answers will come. If you are not as committed as you thought, because maybe something came in with a higher priority. With this does happen frequently, right?
Absolutely.
Things happen in life, right? That
life
is a higher priority, and all of a sudden you don't have the margin that you thought you did, and so you have to come back to it later. But once you've decided, then and you've solved for that challenge, then, like I said, it's the third time I've said it, the answers will come.
It's amazing how
it is.
Then the answers do come around when you're ready, when you really can use them. You don't have to think, way out there. Do the next right thing.
Yeah.
Keep doing the next right thing. And then when you're ready to take the step that needs something else, that thing tends to appear when you really do need it.
Yep.
So,
Okay, I think we've beaten that horse, the dead one, right? Okay. Well, before we go on to the next topic, I just wanted to address the whiteness in the room, not us.
No back. There's that too.
So we're redoing the space where we are doing our recording, and so we don't have anything on the walls yet. So that's why it looks a little strange, maybe sounds a little strange, but within the next couple of weeks, we'll have this back to normal.
Yes.
A little bit different background though.
Always adjusting.
We're going to go for a different background.
Yep.
Yeah, because white hair, white skin, white wall. You can barely see us.
Overly white.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube, yeah.
Yes, those that are just listening, they don't care what our background looks,
No, they do
like,
not.
or if we have white hair, they don't care.
Well, okay, so then I had a good question from a coaching session last week that I thought was worth discussing today.
Okay.
You ready?
I am ready.
Should I really sell items that earn just 92 cents of gross profit?
Wow, on the surface, that seems like, why bother?
Well, I want to talk about why some of these low profit items could actually be the most valuable player or MVP of your Amazon FBA business.
Absolutely.
So many reasons.
So many reasons,
right? Let's talk first about gross profit versus net profit. Okay,
right.
The question I got from the client was 92 cents. And when I say gross profit, we're looking at an ASIN level only.
Yes.
Okay, so we're saying, okay, here's my cost, how much it costs me for the product. Here's how much it costs me for my prep materials. Here's how much it costs me to get it shipped into Amazon. Here's how much I'm going to get back after all the fees. That's my gross profit. This doesn't take into consideration any of your overhead expenses, which usually for new sellers, you don't have a ton of that. But let's say maybe you subscribe to Inventory Lab or you keep an annual subscription or monthly subscription. You can't tie those things specifically to an ASIN. I consider them overhead expenses. So we're not considering those overhead expenses in this level of analysis. Okay. ASIN level gross profit.
So we got 92 cents. So in this case, we put in $2 and we got back $2.92.
In this case, I think they were putting in 58 cents and getting 92 cents back in this example.
Oh, nice.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those, it's 100% ROI or whatever, roughly 100% ROI, but it's less than it's more than 100% ROI, but it's less than $1 of gross profit.
Okay. So think about it this way, though, Brian. Let's say I have one ASIN that I send in and I sell one unit and I get 92 cents.
Yep.
That's hardly worth the trouble, right? However, most ASINs sell more than once a month.
Yes.
So let's say that sells 20 times a month.
Okay.
Which is feasible. 20 times a month. I send in, a few every week to sell that 20. So that if it were $1, let's not do 92
let's just round
cents.
it up.
That's $20. Let's say I have 100 of those ASINs that make 92 cents per unit.
$1 per unit.
Or $1 per unit, yes. 100 times. So what's that?
You're asking me to do math on camera.
I know.
So 20 times 100 is $2,000.
All of a sudden we've got $2,000 on just, $1 at a time, but $2,000 total. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about a book of business. Your book of business has a value and an average return. You have to build a book of business for it to make any difference. So in the beginning of that, before you have a foundational book of business built, I say, take what comes to you. And break even is a good deal at that point because you need sales more than you need profit in the beginning for your future profit.
You need experience.
And you need experience.
Experience in going through the whole cycle, like we've talked about before. We need to get through this cycle of doing the sourcing, shopping, prepping, shipping, pricing, replenishing, on all the stuff that goes along with that, right? You need successful transactions, which this particular item was a pretty quick mover. So yes, 20 a month seemed totally reasonable, right? For something like that. And every successful transaction goes in the win column when Amazon's evaluating your seller account, and you need as many ticks in the win column as you can get.
Right. Right. Some of the clients that we're working with that are asking, we have a lot of people who ask that question. This happened to be one that you had this week, but this question gets asked a lot. And some of the people that are asking that question still haven't had any new brands open it up since their beginning, and they're still really, really tight. And I say, if you can get a successful transaction and not lose your money during that time, go for it.
Well, and I think that this is something I get frustrated about when I'm going through the Facebook group and answering questions. Is people think that the age of their account is what's going to make the difference when it comes to ungating. And when you really dig into why am I not? I've been doing this for 6 months, and why can't I'm still gated and everything, right? Except for a few things. When is this going to loosen up for me? And then when you really dig into this and find out how many actual transactions have happened on the account in question, it's dozens.
Right.
That's not really enough over the course of 6 months. It's not really even close to enough over the course of 6 months to have the walls start coming down for you, the gates start coming down, right? We're talking about hundreds of transactions, thousands of transactions is boom, things are going to start to happen.
Yeah, we don't have insight into what those exact numbers are going to be. And it tends to change at different times of the year, different things. It tends to change. So what we do know is 200 sales in 6 months is a thing with Amazon. They give you extra account health points for that. Like, we can surmise and seeing people who have had transactions that have opened up. Now, they do start opening up pretty quickly. They're just one at a time, and they keep building as you make more sales. So don't get too worried about that. Just do the first part, and the second part will come. Get the sales. Even if you're breaking even, try not to light $20 bills on fire. But, if you're putting in your $20 bill and getting it back and having a successful transaction, that's building your future of being able to have more and more choices of ASINs that make better and better profits.
Yeah. And there's one aspect of this that I think is highly underrated. And it's one of the reasons why I said that could be the MVP of your FBA business. Should we throw in some more acronyms here?
No.
Is in this particular case, it was a small light item. Okay. Like fits in the palm of my hand. In other cases, it could be like the size of a toothbrush or a ballpoint pen or chopsticks, right? Or just, you get the idea. These are small and light items, typically move very quickly. They don't cost that much. And so, your 92 cents doesn't seem like that much, but here's what it does. This improves, especially when you're new. Okay. We know when we're sending stuff into Amazon, as a newer seller, we're sending 20 or 30, 40, even up to 50 items. We're usually only sending to one location, sometimes two. So almost everything is going in the same box or the same 2 boxes, right? So once we start getting up around several hundred units that we're sending in each week, then we see our shipments. We can improve our shipping by spreading it out, letting Amazon choose where our stuff goes.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much difference when you have just a small amount of.
But when you have a small amount, right? So here's what these things do. You can throw 10, 15, 20 of these small and light items into a box and spread without increasing. I was talking about I can't come up with the term for it right now, but earlier I was talking about, I'm already going to the store. There's like the barrier of entry to go to the store. So buying a few more things while I'm there doesn't mean I need to spend 5 times as much.
Right.
Well, the same thing is true with shipping. So just to get a box out the door is like $9 minimum, right? Sometimes 7, depending on where it's going and how heavy it is and its size. But in this case, if we're going to add 15 or 20 of these small and light items to the box, it's only going to increase our inbound transportation by pennies.
Sure. So now we're getting into economies of scale.
Economies of scale, right?
You do one thing that you would have to do for a large amount or a small amount, and you can put it on a large amount, you get economies of scale.
Right. So if I had 20, let's just keep the math easy. If I had 20 of those items.
A lot of math in this one.
I know. That I was putting into my shipment that had 40 other items in it,
Yeah.
Now I get to spread that shipping cost over 60 units instead of 40. And now my inbound transportation per unit comes down, which increases the profitability on those other 40 units. So this is what I mean by the MVP. You can really leverage some of these small and light items that, sure, they don't make a ton of money, but here's the other thing they do. They keep the system working, our system.
Keep the system
our
running.
business running, right? So you want to just dig into that a little bit?
Well, yeah. So think about it this way. You talk about the pumping the old well
Water
where you
well.
had to pump the water and you had to pump that thing several times. I remember I was a little girl and I would have to reach up and pull that thing down.
You're that old?
I lived in a small rural area in Iowa, and we still had those things. So if you got that thing going, you were not going to stop. You kept it going. You hollered, bring me another bucket.
Bring me the bucket. Yep.
Yeah, because I'm not going to let this stop, because if it stops, then the water all falls back down, and you got to prime that thing again. And it's not as easy as just starting where you left off. So that's the way we see people who they take a few weeks off, and okay, I got to think about this. All right, I didn't do anything last week, so I got to get started again. You got to start again. So this can keep your machine running even when other things are going on. We use it a lot for our shopper shippers that we use, friends and family as shopper shippers is what we call them. And sometimes we need to make sure that if it's worth it to them, they need a certain amount to make it worth it to them to show up every week and do these things for us. So sometimes we kind of break even, but they get their piece out of it. It keeps the machine running, keeps everybody happy, and it helps all of us meet our goals.
That's what I was going to say. And that to me is the key that you're hitting on right now. Is it may be less than $1 of gross profit for us after paying for our shopper shippers and all the other expenses associated with that. And so on the surface, it may not seem like it's worth it, but guess what? It keeps our people happy, right? Yeah. It keeps our people paid. It keeps our transaction level up. It does a lot of good things for us besides the 92 cents.
Yeah. And what do you always say? Unless you have something better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. When I have something better, then 92 cents goes away, right? Yeah. But yeah, you could make the case, like we do this a lot. Here, add 25 of this unit to your thing this week, to your invoice this week, right? Right. Because those 25 turns out to be, $50 or whatever it is for someone in their quote unquote paycheck or what we're paying them. That is meaningful, right?
It's meaningful.
That's a couple $100.
We all have goals that we're trying to meet, including the people who are working for us.
Yes.
In whatever way that is, if it's contract work or vendor work, everybody has their goals, and we're going to show up if we're getting our goals met, and if we're not going to show up.
And in the beginning, before you have this outsourced, that's 92 cents right in your pocket.
Yeah.
And plus the profit, the increased profit on all the other items that you're sending in as well. So I guess just don't overlook the impact. Don't overlook the impact of those items on the rest of the items that you're selling.
And it just brings me back to what has become my very favorite quote by John Larson.
Yeah.
All profit's good. Some profits just gooder than others.
That's right. Yeah. We've been adapting that to a lot of other things.
Since when do we turn our nose up at a $2, a $1 bill just because it's a $1 bill? I'm not lighting a $20 bill on fire, but I'm also not resisting any money that comes to me, even if it's $1 at a time. Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. All right. So, do you have a quote for us?
Yeah, I thought you were stealing my thunder with the quote there.
I have a quote. I mean, it is my favorite. It's because I use that over and over and over. So thank you, John, for saying that.
Thanks, John. Yeah, and thanks, John, for just answering so many questions in the Facebook group and giving some solid advice. I love it.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
He's a key member of the community here.
And there are many key members of the leadership of this. Just amazing people to work with, and we see them reaching out and doing a little extra all the time. So thank you.
Can we just call a couple of other people out?
Do it.
I want to call out Gail Treen.
Yeah.
Gail is so great in the Facebook group as well. And for those of you who don't know, Gail was our reactive coach.
She was.
When we were going through the coaching
and she actually
program.
ended up becoming our proactive coach.
She did, yeah, because our
after
proactive coach
had some family issues
come up, and
yeah.
And I remember when I reached out to Gail, before you joined me in the business, I was at like some high level of frustration, and finally I reached out to Gail, and she gave me a whole different perspective that really was enlightening for me and the business, and that is something that I'll never forget it, and I emphasize that with new coaching clients that we work with. As a new coaching student that comes in, you're assigned two coaches, a proactive coach and a reactive coach. And I encourage them to use both coaches, right? And your partner. If you're married or you have a spouse or a partner, even if they're not in the business, they can be a great sounding board for you, sanity check. And between your partner, your two coaches, you got a built-in mastermind,
right?
For your business that
all
you
for
should
the
leverage.
Purpose of helping you find success.
I also see Grant Douglas answering a ton of questions in the Facebook group.
Yeah,
Grant's so solid when it comes to coaching and answering, giving great advice in the Facebook group. I love it. I also see. Go ahead. Who do you see?
Oh, I see. Merrick is answering questions a lot. Merrick Slater.
Merrick.
Yeah, anybody who jumps in and is a little bit more experienced and helps answer questions for less experienced people, or just people that haven't maybe seen something that they're asking about, or encouraging those people who are inspiring us by posting their gold bars and their experience. I always encourage it in the Kickstart program too. Don't just tell us what your questions are, or what your frustrations are. Tell us your experiences and how you overcame them, because we're all looking for those answers too. So even the newest of people in this community are helpful to all of us and inspire us all.
Because of the surgery that I had right after Christmas, I was not as active in the Facebook group. And it's funny how fast things progress just in the course of a few weeks.
Sure.
There's different topics being discussed, a lot of the same ones that come up too, but new people who I hadn't seen before, who have asked 20, 30, 40 questions. Great place to go to get advice.
We could probably sit here and name off names. Please don't think we're not thinking of any, because I'm thinking of 30 different names we could say right now, but we can't list everyone. But those people who are giving just a little bit more than they have to, gosh, it's so appreciated.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thank you all so much. Okay,
all right,
now
so what's
we get
your
to the
quote? Okay.
Okay, this quote comes to us from Zig Ziglar. And we've never quoted Zig Ziglar on this show before.
Really?
I'm not sure that we have. Maybe never is a strong word, but I don't.
I quote Zig Ziglar all the time.
I know, I do too. And he's very motivating for me. And one of the early sort of self-improvement people that I remember being hearing about and reading books and stuff like that.
My dad was a salesman when I was a little girl, and I'd ride in the car, and he would have tapes of Zig Ziglar, and we would
8 tracks or cassettes.
Yeah, no. Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think it must have been, because we had like AM radio at the time, and we'd never had a new car. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar was the thing. Maybe it was records at home.
Oh,
I think we listened to records at home. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But I know I heard Zig Ziglar a lot when I was a kid.
So this quote from Zig Ziglar goes, "You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great."
Wow, some of these quotes are just, well, duh. Right?
Think about the people who are at the top of their game.
Yeah.
Whether it's people that you see in this Facebook group who are doing multiple millions of dollars selling on Amazon, whether it's the NFL quarterback who wins the MVP trophy, or the golfer, or the stay-at-home mom who's kicking butt. I mean, none of them were.
Who has the lives of children in her hands. Like, that is no small thing.
They weren't born great.
No. They became great. Because they got started.
Yeah.
They had a goal, they made a plan, and they went to a place they wanted to go. So. And
one thing I'd just like to point out, those people who are active in their respective professions to this day, most of them, if not all of them, still have coaches.
Yes.
Mentors.
Yes.
Right? That they're working with. So as much as you have it figured out, don't sell yourself short of getting some additional perspective there of other people, coaches, personal development, whatever.
I know you're trying to wrap up, but I
Yeah.
want to just throw
No,
in
it's
one
good.
thing that's happened this week. We had a client who she attended a workshop,
Mm-hmm.
and she got a lot out of that. She had a different coach. She didn't coach with us, but she was in the coaching program. Got that pretty good figured out, and she's moving along with ASINs. But then she came to me for a couple of sessions because she's trying now to get her business kind of worked out where it's more consistent. She needs some help with time management and outsourcing, and these are kind of things that you can get from a coach that don't have anything to do with finding ASINs.
Yes.
I mean, there are so many things that you can get from a coach. And we don't just know these things. We work with a lot of different businesses, and we see which ways tend to work best. And we got a lot of things to try because we've seen a lot of people.
And we talk with a lot of people. And so a lot of the challenges that our coaching clients face, we've heard from other people, or we've experienced it ourselves, and we can then turn around and say, well, here's what worked for us. Here's what worked for somebody else. Here's some great, here's some general advice or what have you. I think it's a great point because there's a lot of what happens in this business that is about the tactics.
Yes.
Right? The tactics around
And
how
they're
to
important.
source, about how to, we have the whole 7 core competency series, which is all
Absolutely.
based on tactics.
Yes.
But frequently, it's the things other than the tactics that you can benefit from, that you might need help with. Time management being one, motivation being one, discipline being one, perspective
when you don't have
mindset.
motivation, what do you have to lean on?
Discipline. Mm-hmm.
That's sometimes hard to do. Sometimes you have to just run the scales.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to do some practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Well, let's get going. It's a new year.
Yeah. How do you get started in this business, or how do you revive your business, or how do you scale and grow your business?
Test more ASINs.
Test more ASINs.
Step one.
Let's go test
ASINs.
Test some more ASINs.
Cheers.
Great to see you all. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. Before I let you go, though, let's spend a couple minutes with my good friend, Jeff Schick. He jumps on here once a week or so with some great Amazon policy and legal insights to help us stay on the straight and narrow with our business. Jeff, what do you got for us today, man?
So one of the big questions we've been having from sellers is whether they're big enough to sign up for our legal retainer. And so I wanted to just have a frank discussion about it, because sometimes sellers will come to us and they'll say, well, I really feel like I need your help, but I don't think that my business is big enough to afford it yet. And then they say, so what's the size that we should be when we should sign up for you? And the answer is, what's the size? It really comes down to is, if you're running a real business or if you're running a hobby. Like if you're running a hobby, then the answer is probably, it could be never, right? Because you don't really care about it. But if you're trying to build a real business, the things that we work with our clients on, forming LLCs, helping them with, trademarks, helping them with the, protecting against suspensions, interpreting policy, helping them understand what Amazon's expectations are. Those are all things that we help sellers of all sizes with, that arguably could be more important for sellers that are just starting up, or just as important for sellers starting up as they are for large established sellers, because those are all the building block, fundamentals of starting a successful e-commerce business.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is, it's not a matter of can I afford these things, and it's just a few dollars a day. It's not a matter of can I afford this or not. It's more almost like, can I afford not to if I'm getting a real business? Right. Yeah, you're not too small if you're serious about your business.
Exactly. And so that's to say, we work with sellers of all sizes. I have one seller that's been a client of mine for 2 years now. He's not sold a single product yet because he's just been stuck in the analysis paralysis. But he schedules calls with us, with our team, to ask questions. Hey, I'm thinking about buying this product. Should I buy it? And wants to just know, whether it complies with policy and whatnot. We actually saved him because he had unfortunately been subjected to an ad for a done-for-you automation company.
Yeah.
And so he was literally one or two clicks away from electronically signing the agreement, because he had gone through the sales process and thought it sounded so good. And so, we've worked with sellers that are truly, beginners starting at zero. We've also got sellers that, are in Amazon, top 100 seller list. So we really have worked with sellers of all sizes across a variety of issues. And so there's really no one's too big or too small for getting proper help.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know our team uses you guys a lot. We run everything from little scenarios to big decisions past you, and you've certainly steered us clear of some big mistakes and educated us on some things we were doing that we shouldn't have been. Yeah, it's very much worth a few dollars a day to get Jeff and his team on your side, no matter what size you are. Go to jeffschick.com, SCHICK, and sign up for their retainer service. You guys cover so many different services for a few dollars a day. And I appreciate you, man. You're doing a great job for us. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks for trusting us.
Hey, well, let's do this again next week. What do you say?
Sounds good.
All right, man. Good to see you. Bye for now.